Why some people feel nothing during the World Cup. Here's a question that sounds simple but gets strange very quickly. Why do billions of people care about a game they cannot influence, not play, not coach, not control? Yet somehow a goal scored by a stranger on a field thousands of miles away can change their mood, their confidence, and sometimes their entire week. And if you're one of the people who watches the World Cup, the Super Bowl, or the NBA Finals, and feels absolutely nothing, the interesting psychological question isn't what's wrong with you, it's what's happening to everyone else. Because what you're watching isn't just sports fandom, you're watching identity in action. And identity is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Let's start with a fact that sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud. A team wins, a fan celebrates, a stranger succeeds, and somehow the fan feels successful too. Logically, that makes no sense. Psychologically, it makes perfect sense. In 1976, psychologist Robert Cialdini documented a phenomenon called burgeoning, basking in reflected glory. After university football victories, students became significantly more likely to wear clothing associated with their school. Nothing about their own lives had changed. Their grades were the same, their finances were the same, their future was the same. But proximity to success felt like ownership of success. The brain quietly absorbed the victory. This is why fans say, "We won." No, they won. The emotional arithmetic is fascinating. The mind treats group success as personal success. And when the group becomes part of your identity, the distinction starts to disappear. But then something else happens. The team loses, and suddenly the language changes. They played terribly. They made mistakes. They blew it. Notice what's missing. The word "we." This isn't hypocrisy, it's self-protection. The brain moves closer to success and further away from failure, not consciously, automatically. Because identity isn't just about belonging, it's also about self-esteem. The team becomes psychological scaffolding, a structure helping support the way you see yourself. And this is where non-fans become interesting. People often assume they don't understand belonging, but that's not what's happening. Humans don't outgrow the need for identity. They relocate it. The sports fan finds meaning in a team. The entrepreneur finds meaning in a company. The artist finds meaning in a craft. The gamer finds meaning in a virtual world. The scientist finds meaning in ideas, different objects, same mechanism. Identity simply found a different home. But identity alone doesn't explain why sports can feel so addictive. For that, we need to talk about your reward circuitry, specifically dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the chemical of pleasure. It isn't. It's the chemical of anticipation, and anticipation depends on uncertainty. This is where sports become psychologically powerful. Every match is an unresolved question. Will they score? Will they choke? Will they come back? Will everything change in the next 10 seconds? Your brain becomes invested in the answer. Not because certainty is rewarding, because uncertainty is. Neuroscientists have known for years that unpredictable rewards generate stronger engagement than predictable ones. Which brings us to an uncomfortable comparison. The same mechanism that makes sports exciting overlaps with the mechanism that makes slot machines compelling. Intermittent reinforcement. You don't know when the reward is coming. You only know it might. And might is enough to keep the brain locked in. Near misses become emotionally powerful. Last-second goals become unforgettable. Unexpected upsets become legendary. Not because the events are objectively important, because uncertainty supercharges attention. The reward circuitry stays engaged until resolution arrives. But here's the catch. This only works if you care. Without emotional investment, a dramatic match looks completely different. To a dedicated supporter, it's tension. To an outsider, it's activity. The same event, different brains, different experiences, and then the World Cup adds another psychological layer. National identity. Now, the team isn't just a team. It's your country, your flag, your collective story. For many people, this amplifies everything. The emotional stakes become larger. The victory feels symbolic. The loss feels symbolic. The team becomes a representation of something bigger than sport. But not everyone experiences national identity in the same way. Some people build a significant portion of their identity around nationality. Others don't, and that difference matters. Research on social identity consistently shows that the more strongly people identify with a group, the more emotionally affected they become by the group's outcomes. No identification, no emotional impact. Strong identification, strong emotional impact. Simple, but incredibly powerful. And then there's another phenomenon operating beneath the surface, one most fans rarely notice: parasocial attachment. In the 1950s, Horton and Wohl described a new type of relationship emerging through mass media. A one-sided emotional connection between audiences and people they had never met. Today, that phenomenon is everywhere. Celebrities, influencers, athletes. Fans feel familiarity, connection, loyalty, despite having no reciprocal relationship. The athletes don't know them, yet emotionally, the attachment can feel real. And when you combine parasocial attachment with social identity and intermittent reinforcement, something remarkable happens. The game becomes bigger than the game. It becomes a psychological ecosystem. Identity, belonging, reward, connection, meaning, all bundled into a 90-minute event. Which explains why some people care so much, but it also explains why others don't. Because the people who feel nothing aren't necessarily missing the need for belonging. They've already satisfied it somewhere else. Their identity scaffolding exists in another domain. Their emotional energy is invested elsewhere. The attachment system is already occupied, and that's the counterintuitive realization. The psychology of not caring about the World Cup isn't really about sports. It's about where your identity lives. Everyone belongs somewhere. Everyone invests emotionally in something. Everyone has a story they feel connected to. The only difference is where that connection lands. So the next time someone asks why you don't care about the World Cup, the Super Bowl, or the NBA Finals, the better question might be this: if not there, where? Because wherever your attention repeatedly returns, wherever your emotions naturally attach, wherever success feels personal and failure feels painful, that's probably where your identity lives. And once you understand that, you're no longer studying sports, you're studying yourself. Before you go, a quick observation. A lot of the people interested in psychology struggle with the same three problems: poor focus, poor sleep, and a brain that seems incapable of staying still. The problem isn't usually information. Most people already know what they should do. The problem is execution. That's why we put together a simple 7-day bundle covering dopamine regulation, sleep optimization, and focus training. No productivity theater, no life hacks, just practical daily actions designed to work with your brain instead of against it. If that sounds useful, you'll find it in the description. And if you enjoy psychology that explains everyday behavior through real mechanisms rather than motivational cliches, subscribe, because the most interesting thing you'll ever study is the mind you're using right now.